Welcome home to St. Anne's. Please be seated. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. You're like, what? Eric was like, I think that was a record breaker, actually. There's a lot. So, new rule, I can only preach as long as I can stand. If I can't stand that long, we need to wrap it up. But let's talk about, we've had kind of this theme of grace and forgiveness that we've been wrestling with the last few weeks. And I think this is a powerful one when we hear our stories today, because they're really focused on where are you and I focused? Because a lot of our issues arise because we can't deal with our own stuff. And a lot of our sin and chaos in this world really comes from a place of we can't deal with our own stuff, so we focus on the stuff of others. And as much as this is a tough reading today to hear, it should really, really speak to us, probably pretty loudly. I don't know if you guys ever struggle with this, but I do. And I know my students do, and it's all over the news, and we seem to be passing a lot of laws that come from a place of scarcity. We have a sense of scarcity. I worked so hard for this, and this is mine, and those people over there want to take it from me, and it's mine, and I earned it. No, you didn't. You didn't. And that's what we need to talk about, because if we come from a place of scarcity and stuff and mine, the evil that we will enact is atrocious. And what we will miss is God and grace. And suddenly those things won't matter to us anymore. We will miss them entirely because it's like pie. It's mine. I made this pie. You didn't make the pie. Can I tell you that real fast? Okay, we didn't make the pie. It ain't my pie. And you don't need to be worried about other people taking your pie. There's enough pie, and it ain't your pie anyway. And yet we have this fear, right? That somebody's going to take my stuff. And so I got to go out and I got to get those people before they take my stuff. But the problem is the angle at which we are coming from, the lens that you and I are thinking in. Because what we're thinking in is greed and mine and scarcity, when really the place that you and I are called to come from is a sense of grace and love and abundance. Because think about what we have. You could have been born a mosquito. I mean, come on. You want to talk about scarcity? It's been a blood-sucking bug. And yet, so often we miss all that stuff, right? We're so focused, and I really think it comes out of this, we call it the Protestant work ethic. It's a lie, by the way. Don't even talk to me about the Protestant work ethic. We'll go into history sometime. And I pulled myself up with my bootstraps. Do you realize that was a joke? It was said to be sarcastic. Did you know that? Yeah. The first person who said pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I am going to sit down for a second because I want you to think about this. Anyone ever worn boots before? They're awful to get on, especially if you have a handicap. Okay. Now, imagine, if you will, you got your bootstraps because they go kind of like this. And if you've got some old Western or English boots, they go up here. And you're going to go like this. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine if you can, you know what, try it out yourselves. See if you can stand up holding like this. Can you? Can you pull yourself up? No. You can't. It's a joke. It's like jumping in a bucket, holding on to the sides. You can't do it. It's not a thing. It's meant to be ironic because it's not true. You and I can't do it. There's no such thing as pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. There's no such thing as coming from nothing, absolute nothing, being born a mosquito, and then suddenly doing something else completely different. It's not a thing.
Because we didn't create any of it. The life that we have and the grace that we have didn't come from us to begin with. Now, we all come from like different experiences, absolutely. And those experiences might change us in all sorts of different ways. But if that's where you're coming from, suddenly everything changes. Suddenly there's a mine and yours, and I worked for this, and you didn't do it, and you didn't do it the right way, and I did, and I followed the rules. What are the rules anyway? We don't even know what the rules are anymore. But when we come from a sense of scarcity, then suddenly we're willing to take from others. But what if? What if we come from a realization that God created all of it? And God has forgiven us for so incredibly much, and we are so consumed and saturated by grace and joy and love that we can't live in any other way. It will change the way we think. It will change the way we act. It will change the very way that we see the world. And that's what we're called to do. Not that I don't want you to see. I think what we can get stuck in is these rules, and that's what Peter's coming from. Well, how many times do I have to forgive them? I want a rule, right? I want it set down. Like, you were a jerk once. Like, shame on me once. Shame on me. What is it? I don't. If you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? That is our mindset. But what if it weren't? What if we just got rid of all of that? All of this stuff that has a sense of me. All this sense of being owed and hard work and me. What if we changed that? And we said, anyone only messed up once in your life? Anyone, I'll just speak for myself. Do you think I haven't wronged my husband before? Absolutely. I intend to do it 5 times today. Absolutely. But if your relationship comes from a place of, well, you wronged me, and I'll never let that happen again. Anyone here going to survive a relationship for more than 2 days? No. We live in a community of love and grace, and sometimes in all relationships, you have to come from a place of love and grace. Anyone in this church ever wronged anyone? I mean, I've wronged you all 5 times today. Have you seen the print size on your announcement sheet? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you'd be like, look, Meg, it's been like that for weeks. And I'm like, aren't we just glad we have an announcement sheet? It's pretty miraculous, frankly. But what if we are a community of love and grace? And we say, hey, look, we're in this together. That's what our marriages have to be. That's what our relationships with our kids have to be, and our relationships with our family, and our relationships with our friends, and our loved ones, and frankly, our whole community and world has to be hey, we're in this together. And it's tough. And sometimes we're going to mess it up. Sometimes I'm going to be doing the very, very best that I can, and I'm going to mess it up. I feel like COVID, when we were all trying to survive COVID together, there were some tough decisions that had to be made, right? And at the moment, we could only make the decision that we had with the information that we had at the time. But if we can come at that from love and grace, we can say, hey, we're doing our best to live together in community and keep each other safe. Was it all accurate 100% of the time? No, not necessarily. But there was a lot more room for love and grace. And I will just use this church as an example. I didn't have any of the issues. I hear other clergy talk about there was all this infighting, and people were out to get them, and they were going to get fired, and there were threats and all that stuff. And I was like, I didn't have that. We didn't, because we were a community that knows that we're all messed up, and we're all trying to figure it out. And it's all about that vulnerability and that grace, because we know that we didn't earn any of it. We didn't work for any of it. And it will change the way that we see the world when we do that. Don't worry about somebody taking your stuff. It's not your stuff anyway. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Because guess what? You're going to mess up too. It's not a question of 7 times or 77 times. It's about how we come at this conversation. It's about how we come at the way we see one another. And that's what the story's all about anyway. How do we see it? How do we see it? And I'm going to tell you, I rarely get distracted in this church. That's funny. You guys feel like you're always, I can't even handle how cute this is, okay? Because this is what I'm talking about. This is love and grace. Do you see this? There's not much blood relative going on over here. But it is love and it is grace and it's an understanding of how we live together, isn't it? And there is wonder in that. And I want us to honor that because sometimes I think we get so distracted by how we're going to vote or who we're arguing with or how we're going to win. We already won. The question is, how do we make sure we don't lose?
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
Need more coffee, guys.